It's not always about games, and it's not always good. Full frontal garbage.
Full breath.
Greetings, programs. Welcome to the Full Frontal Garbage podcast. I am Alexi, and he is the bum.
Oh,
So,
damn it.
what happened?
No.
Yeah.
All right, let's do that again.
No. I'm gonna keep that in. I like that.
Okay, welcome to the podcast, everyone.
Hi,
how are you, David?
I'm splendid. I'm doing very well. How about yourself?
Not bad, honestly, not bad.
Yep.
So, about multiplayer games.
Multiplayer.
What is the
games.
most fun thing about playing multiplayer games, David? Would you say it would be playing them with your friends?
Digging your eyes out. Oh, you meant
No.
like local multiplayer.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's just being able to hang out, ease of access,
Yeah.
chilling, having
So-
fun. I'm gonna leave the cap off.
For those playing the home game, there's a game called the Untitled Goose game, and it took the internet by storm through very popular gamers like Markiplier.
Video game donkey waddled its way into our lives.
Exactly. So, naturally, David and I immediately wanted to play this game as soon as it came out.
Oh,
Us thinking it was single player. Well, when it comes out, we find out there's multiplayer.
well, it was added in after the fact.
Right. Point is, when I started looking at it on my wish list, I filled you into the fact that, it was multiplayer. Sweet.
Yeah.
I bought it for him. I bought it for me. And we go to try and play it multiplayer and figure out, hey, it's local multiplayer only.
Yeah.
I agree. I understand there's some limitations in some of these games, but in this time of COVID, and given the fact that we no longer live next to each other as close as we would like anymore, I've got to say, I think having local only multiplayer is a little bit limiting. Don't you agree?
I agree. It sucks is another way to say it.
Yeah, it sucks.
Dude.
But I digress. Goose Game. For all of the people who want to play a little bit of chaos in their life. Not make chaos, not have chaos. It is a game where you can be the chaos.
The
That
harbinger
goose
of chaos.
The goose is literally the harbinger of pestilence and war. In feathery, webbed feet glory. My God, that is a fun game.
Oh my God, I love it so much. That was an odd story you told. You went into the game after starting with the multiplayer.
I know, because there's a level I'm getting at here.
Oh, okay.
I had to stop and take a drink. But playing this game, as fun as it is, and especially knowing we had multiplayer, and trying to get this set up through Steam, and or may not know, depending upon when the video comes up, we had a blast with it. But the problem is, Steam wouldn't let us play together very well.
No, the remote play sucked ass.
And we did a little digging, and I found, and some of you may know this, some of you may not, we found a neat little, I guess, is it a standalone program, or would it be considered like an add-on program?
No.
Background program?
Because that insinuates that it's in any way tied to like whatever you're playing. It's a standalone program called Parsec. Well, parsec.app is where you get it, but it's called Parsec. And the way it works is your computer acts as like a central hub, like a server that your friends can connect to, and you can have up to 8 people. So 7 people join you, so you can have 8 people all in like a party. And it basically it gives everyone limited access to your computer, and you can choose how much access they have. Either they're able to control a mouse and keyboard, or they only have access to the gamepad they're using. Either way, it connects everyone in the room to the one centralized hub, the one computer, and you can use that to play local multiplayer only games.
And it is amazing.
It is flawless, man. It is absolutely flawless. It's incredible. Like, there is almost no latency at all.
Yeah, almost none. So we got this game initially to play the Goose game, which we'll explain more about in a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But David did some digging on this, and he found some of his emulators, got them back into working, and we played Smash. You know, Super Smash Brothers, whatever you call them. I don't know which version it was that we played, but
the
more recent version.
Yeah. Oh, okay. You're talking about that one. Yeah. We went through a whole line of games.
But they had been playing. What all did you guys play?
We played
that?
We played Mario 64. We played Mario Kart 64. We played the original Super Smash. Like they were mostly like Nintendo 64 games starting off, because one of my friends that was in the party at the time just had a real chub for nostalgia at that moment. And then, we're gonna derail this for a quick second because I want to talk about emulators as a whole. So for starters, I don't think emulators are a bad thing at all. Just to go ahead and just toss my chips in on that and take my stand on that side of the table. But I don't think there's a problem with them. Piracy is always gonna be not really an issue. It is stealing, more or less. It is stealing. If a game comes out and you go, hey, I want to play that, and you go and download it without paying for it, yes, it's more or less stealing. But we're gonna draw a line in the timeline of consoles and games that have been released, and we're going to go back to the previous era, the older games, the more archaic systems that aren't in circulation anymore. And you can say what you want about virtual consoles at like the first party.
Yeah. Let's be real quick too. A little side note. Those re-release hardware games, I've got a couple of them. I've got one that's supposed to be the Atari, and one that's supposed to be like Galaga, Miss Pac-Man, all that.
Mm-hmm.
They don't live up to a original recreation off of the original game.
They don't have a one-to-one standard at all.
They don't. They can't.
That's what I was about to say. Half the time, they're just shitty ports. Like, they'll have features that are stripped. They'll have features that don't necessarily work correctly. They won't be true to the original experience of, which a lot of times that has to also do with the technology that was available at the time of the hardware that you're playing on, even.
And here's another issue that I've run into specifically playing Galaga on one of those little plug and play consoles. They have limiting factors in a cost saving measure, right?
Oh, yeah.
So the program itself is able to run, but not up to the par that it could on the original hardware.
Mm-mm.
Take my Galaga experience, for example. I love Galaga.
Yeah.
I played the absolute shit out of Galaga at the arcade. I was good at Galaga, and I'm not good at any video game, all right? And I was good at this game. Because I had developed, the arcade fast fire technique of using multiple fingers, like and having that rapid fire.
Skills.
Well, it's not unique, but it's definitely a development of skills.
No, particulars. I was doing a reference. Anyway, keep going.
Yeah, it went over my head. I'm sorry.
Oh, you're fine.
But and you have the way to rapid fire. Try doing it on this emulator. This thing would bog down and while frame rates is an archaic way to describe it, I would lose frame rates from hitting the button too fast.
Well, you'd lose frames. You would drop frames.
Right.
your frame rate would drop. That's not archaic. That's like terminology today.
No, I mean, it's like, it wasn't actually dropping frames. It was just like, I was hitting the button so fast, the hardware didn't know that I was hitting the button. Like, there was a reset time in the button that's not there on the original hardware.
Okay, I
So,
see what
like,
you're saying.
where you could hit the button as fast as you wanted to on the original hardware, this one you would hit the button and it would only be like a fraction of a second, but it was, you know, slow enough that it would slow down your ability to play the game.
Yeah.
And you don't have to worry about that with emulators.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying is more often than not, these re-releases and virtual consoles and stuff like that, like I said, are just shitty ports. They're cash grabs that are trying to capitalize on the nostalgia of the older titles without taking any care to actually try to keep the original experience intact. Emulators, which are all free, 100%. fan driven what's the word I'm looking for, like it's all done just out of passion, and
It's community sourced, it's open sourced,
and more often than not, pretty much every emulator on the market today is fucking spot on. You know, it's just it runs perfectly, and it's incredible what people have done today, especially with an emulator, a new emulator called Yuzu. It's a Switch emulator, and that's what we've been playing Smash Bros. Ultimate on. And before anyone says anything, I currently own a fucking Switch. I currently own Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. So this isn't a conversation on piracy or anything like that. I literally have the products.
This isn't a conversation about the morality of pirating. We're literally talking about the technology.
Yeah, just the technology itself, and it's absolutely astounding what those guys have done in such a short time. There's emulators to this day that have been out so far before even Yuzu was even started, like years before, and they're only getting to a point now where they're kind of like stable, like consistently stable, and like it doesn't take a freaking NASA level computer. You don't have to rip the cockpit out of a freaking, you know.
See, here's the thing. Nowadays, with a decent amount of storage on a Raspberry Pi, 8 gig, and they're about to come out with a 16 gig memory Raspberry Pi.
Ooh.
If you have like a 64 gig card in that thing, full of all of your games and everything, you can build that thing into a portable console emulator with 2 or 3 different consoles on it, and it will work better than any of those cash grab, you know, PS1 plug and play BS fucking console.
Oh yeah,
knockoffs.
Yeah,
bar none. Full stop.
100%. Anyway, I just wanted to talk about emulators for a second and just kind of get that out there, because I've been spending countless hours getting those working and figuring them out and just kind of running through everything.
Honestly, if you know where to look and you have a little bit of know-how, getting an emulator running on your computer will be a far better experience than any overpriced port for a current gen console or cash grab that any company's put out.
Yeah.
Full stop.
I do.
And
okay, good. I'm sorry. I thought you were done.
But the only way you can get a more authentic and more enjoyable experience than an emulator is to buy one of those very expensive and very rare and very hard to get re-release consoles. Like a few years ago, they re-released the original NES system, you know, in 2000 something.
No.
That actually... they re-released the original the console in 2000 something that would use the original cartridges.
Oh wait, really?
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying, is it was not around that long. It was expensive. It was like $65, $85 just for the console, and then you had to buy like extra controllers and stuff separately.
So it was a legitimate re-release of the actual console itself.
It was the re-release of the. It looked like the original in its style, but it was the size of the slimline NES.
Yeah. Well, that's cool.
It was very tiny, and you put the original cartridge directly into it.
Man, that's
like
badass.
If you'd bought the cartridge back in the 80s,
yeah,
whenever NES first came over to America, you could still plug that cartridge into this thing.
You know, there are still people who are making games today on cartridges.
God bless them.
There are still people to this day that are creating new games, like completely new IPs, new ideas, a completely fresh game, but they're making it with the limitations of 1980s hardware and game design and all of that, and they're making them and putting them out on cartridges that are meant to be played on the consoles.
God bless them too.
I find it absolutely just. It's insane. That's insane to me.
And I think because of those people that really do have an unmitigated passion for the old console games of bygone years, you really do get ultra creative games like Shovel Knight and Goose Game and things like that are spawned into the modern era from modern computing.
Yeah.
That... Of course, they harken back to old consoles and nostalgia, but at the same time, they're not limited like those diehard fans are.
Yeah.
But someone who dedicates themselves to making those games on the original hardware and software limitations, they're on another level, man. I appreciate the hard work they do, even if I never touch anything any of them do. Because, I have an absolute... I'm an audiophile. You give me an old piece of audio equipment that's outmoded and outdated, I will fawn over it like it's brand new. So I get it. I understand where they come from. Because... And I can't remember who said this, and I'm going to loosely quote this. As soon as something is replaced... or as soon as something is considered obsolete, there will be a market for emulation of that.
Oh, yeah.
It's the same thing with consoles. It's the same thing with music. People are out there right now, dumping, who knows how much money into researching on how to make digital distortions and amplifiers that sound like outboard stuff from the 60s and 70s, or record players from the 70s and 80s. Same thing with video games.
Yeah. Shit, I had something for that. My brain just kind of wandered. I will pose a question at the... Oh, fuck. The hell just happened?
Well put.
What the fuck just happened? my hand hit the soundboard. Fuck. Oh, shit popped up on my computer and everything. Hopefully that didn't fuck anything up. It still seems like everything's good. All right. So, anyway. Are
we still live?
We are live. Closing out this conversation on emulators and this retro stuff, I would like to actually pose a question. And just to kind of throw it out into space for anyone listening.
Yeah.
So, the big problem with, the morality debate with emulators is,
right.
When is it okay? When is it not okay? When is it stealing? When is it just it's archiving? All of this stuff. The problem number one, I think, is the intention of archiving history is phenomenal.
Totally.
100%. I love that. But as you start going further and further, and the technology is becoming more and more powerful to the point where we can almost emulate current gen consoles and all this stuff, then you're talking about something getting released and then just people getting it for free, which is theft. That is a problem. But here's my question. So, not even going back to the older shit. Like I said, I have a Switch. I have Ultimate right now. I have them in my possession. So let's say, because that's a physical copy. Let's say I lose. I like my house gets caught on fire. I lose everything in the fire. The only thing I have left is my computer, right?
Right.
So are you saying for me to be able to play Smash again, I have to go out and spend another hundreds of dollars on a console and $60 on a game that I own when I have an alternative where I can just download the emulator, get the product keys, the title keys, download the NSP of the game that I did own that were destroyed in a fire. Technically, the way I got them was quote unquote illegal, but the prerequisite to being able to do it legally is having it and dumping it yourself.
Exactly.
And if you think that that is stealing, then
why?
What I pose for that is, how is it any different than the digital age today, where you purchase a game digitally on like the PlayStation Store or Steam, you delete it, and then go to a different computer and re-download it? Because what you've purchased isn't a physical copy of the game, which should be more than a digital release, but we're not even going to get into that.
Yeah.
You're basically buying the right to play the game.
Yeah.
You are buying ownership of the IP to use in your home for your own personal use. How is that any different than buying a physical copy? That's my question. That was way longer winded than I intended it to be, but that's my question.
That goes perfectly into like digital rights management. You know, I'm having this trouble right now with trying to play Minecraft. So they have this big Minecraft server they like to play in. I would really like to join them in that. But for some unknown reason, and I'm still working through it, I cannot purchase this game. My bank will not let me purchase this game. It is a problem with my bank. It has nothing to do with Microsoft or Mojang. I have the accounts perfectly fine. No hiccups there. I have bought things off of other websites perfectly fine. But for some reason, when I'd go and try and buy this game, Minecraft, I am hit with a fraud notice. And I can't tell you how many times I've already bought Minecraft. I have bought it on the PlayStation 4. I have bought it on the PlayStation 3. I have bought skins on the PlayStation 3. I have spent more than my share of money on Minecraft of some version. Why can't I have this version? Why is there a made-up law in this technoscape called digital rights management, saying that if I downloaded this game and it's not tied to this online account, then I can't play this game?
Yeah.
Even if I download the game and even if I have a legitimate account, if I download this game and I don't have the game purchased on my account, it's still illegitimate. That's why I advocate for digital rights management free games.
DRM
because
free.
If you buy the game, DRM free. There's a website out there. They dedicate themselves. There's actually, I'm sure, several websites out there that dedicate themselves to digital rights management free games, DRM free games.
GOG is big on that.
Exactly. How come I have to buy this game for a third time? I've bought it twice already because I acknowledged that the original game existed on the PlayStation 3. I liked it. I play it. I realized there was updates that I could only get on the PlayStation 4.
Mm-hmm.
I was okay with buying it a second time for those updates.
Yeah.
But on a computer game, all of my friends have it. I've already bought it twice. And the only thing that's really preventing me from playing it is this arbitrary digital rights management.
Yeah. And
that ties in with the whole emulator thing. Is like, where do you draw the line?
Well, I mean,
where's the problem?
Not to get back into it, but I mean, because I've had so many different conversations with people about this kind of stuff. And another thing I always talk about is, how is that different from me going and buying a physical copy of some PlayStation game back in the 90s and then taking that thing over to like 15 different friends' houses?
Exactly.
You know,
Like
how
I
is that
remember
different?
during my mall goth phase in high school.
Molgov.
Yeah, seriously, I had a mall goth phase.
That
Don't
sounds
hold it against me. We'll talk more about that on a later
no
podcast.
Molgoth. That sounds like some like goblin chief.
No, you
The
know
Hall
the
of
kind,
Molgoth.
mall goths.
No, I
They
know
all,
what you're talking about.
yeah, they all look the same. They all buy trip pants, but that's kind of what I did. I took a PlayStation 2 game that I didn't like. A friend of mine, Rob Holt, he fucking loved it. So I went over there and I traded a pair of like
Molgoth
mall
the
goths.
loiterer.
That's it. That's the final boss of Paul the Long.
Paul the Long. I forgot about Paul the Long. Oh,
We'll talk about that on a different podcast too. But yeah, I traded him the video game for a pair of trip pants. It's like, dude, come on. That's DRM free gaming right there at its best.
yeah.
You have a thing you want. I have a thing you want. Wait.
What?
I have a thing you want. You have a thing I want. We'll trade. Why can't it be that with video games? Why can't he come over to my computer, download Minecraft, and then I play with my friends?
To be completely and totally honest, I think it's a half and half situation. I wouldn't go just full like conspiracy theorist with it, like
No, I'm not.
cynical, but like I think it's half and half. It's half. The digital market is a scary place where your intellectual property that you worked so hard, spent time, money, effort to make,
Right.
and it could
I
just
acknowledge that.
it could just be gone, just poof, there we go, and hey, I did this, and millions of people like it, and only 100,000 people actually bought it. That
Yeah.
it's half, it's that, and the other half is wait a second, we can regulate this shit, cut the costs for making it, crank the price of admission, and then create all these arbitrary like fucking checkpoints and all this bull crap and red tape that people have to go through in order to actually use it. And in order to actually use it, and if you ever fuck up and lose it, bam, gotta buy it again. You know, oh, you got it. You gotta have it.
No one needs to buy Skyrim for what, the 8th time now?
20th time.
Yeah. But yeah, it's unreasonable to me, honestly. But at the same time, I do understand it. I really do. I wish it were different. I wish it were easier, but then again, people are assholes, so
Yeah.
I get it. But while we're on the topic of video games
Mm-hmm.
and digital media and things like that, specifically, is like one thing that I know you miss, and one thing that I'm very nostalgic for, is the box art. That was my favorite part.
Oh yeah, box arts are amazing. I realize now that Christina's been snoring pretty much this whole time, so I'm gonna have fun with that with my audio.
I can't even hear it. It's okay.
Yeah, it should be fine. We'll see. But yeah, box art.
Yeah. So there's two conversations I want to have here. Number one, the lack of box art. Yeah, it sucks. Whatever. David will agree with me there.
Yep.
You know, digital media, we miss the box art. Yeah, that's not a huge conversation. The second thing is, when there was box art, specifically for games ported from Japan,
Mm-hmm.
and two of our favorite series that we share, Final Fantasy, Metal Gear Solid, or, just Metal Gear in general.
Mm-hmm.
How would you describe the difference in American box art design to Japanese box art design?
I was actually, I didn't know where you were going with it. I was actually about to bring that up, man. More often than not, I always love the Japanese style when it comes to the box arts, because more often than not, they take a much more subtle approach, very minimalistic. Hell, most of the Final Fantasy box arts for the Japanese versions are just like the title, white background, and then because every Final Fantasy title has its own personal design of some kind of like character or event, something that's integral to the core of that release.
You know,
it's always
there's a
designed,
stick to it.
yeah, always designed really cool. But that's something that I've always noticed is most of the time, not all the time, but most of the time, the Japanese box art, if it's like a Japanese game, the Japanese box art is always better, because Dark Souls is a big one, because the box art for the Japanese release, or I guess just the overseas, is, you know, the knight sitting at a bonfire. It's really dark. The only light source in that whole frame is the campfire he's sitting in front of. It's this, there's anonymity to the soldier, or the person, whoever he is, because he's just kind of sitting there, and it perfectly encapsulates everything about the atmosphere and the tone of the game. And then the freaking North American box art is just a dude with a sword and a shield running at just a hazy blue wall of maybe souls or whatever. There's like no definition to it. It's just kind of big, it's bright, and that's most of the North American box arts in comparison. Is it's just, let's slap as much as we fucking possibly can onto the fucking cover, and it'll catch kids' attention. You know, no
yeah,
big
because
whoop.
I think I have a theory about this, and it's something I think not really Americans struggle with, but really the American media struggles with specifically, is, you know, I'm not going to pretend that I know anything about Japanese culture or Japan in general, other than the few interviews and things that I've seen throughout my years. But the people who are invested in like Dark Souls and Final Fantasy and big, long, story-driven games like that,
Mm-hmm.
they really have a respect for it as an art form. They really do see video games or any kind of digital player media like that
Yeah.
as an art form. I mean, for Christ's sakes, some of the best Metal Gear Solid visuals from Metal Gear Solid 3 were on a pachinko machine. Because they really do see the video game characters as an art form.
Well,
They see
you just kicked a hornet's nest, dude.
I know, I'll let you rant on that in just a second. But they really do see it as an art form. And I don't think America really sees it as that. I think they see it more as like just a hobby at best,
Well,
or a competitive sports on certain aspects, or, you know, it's not for the mainstream or what have you.
Well, it's changing. It's changing these days now that the gaming industry is, you know,
It is changing.
as
I'm
big
happy
as it
about
is,
that.
and it's more
Yes.
cemented in the mainstream media itself. It's being more accepted as just a thing that's there. Film went through the exact same thing. Film and
Exactly,
television. Cinema went through the exact same thing. It was pointless, meaningless, a waste of time. People weren't just going to sit around. You know, well, they had work, they had things to do. They, you know, you'd go outside, hang out with friends, travel. Why would
And
the
now
hell
it's a cornerstone of our entertainment. Yeah,
oh, well, yeah,
exactly.
now that's one of the most respected forms of entertainment, period. You know, it's just a part of it. And gaming too will eventually just be a part of it. We're getting close to that right now.
Here, I'll circle back to it since you wanted to rant about it.
Oh no, I didn't want to rant about it.
But
Yeah.
I'll circle back to it because I want to hear what you have to say. Even though that the people involved, like in Japan, still do see it as the art form more so than America, they still do have their detractors, which is how you get some of the best rendered footage from Metal Gear Solid 3 to end up in a pachinko machine.
Well, what that was, it was a recreation of the Metal Gear Solid 3 cinematics in the Fox engine. That was the engine that Kojima Productions created specifically for making like Metal Gear Solid 5. Ground Zeroes is technically a part of that, but like making those two, they used it to make PT, all of that, and he lost it when he was fired, left, whatever the situation was.
The controversy. We won't get into that.
From Konami. Konami's use of those cutscenes and cinematics. I really need to stop catching and stuttering so much. Konami's use of the cinematics and the high def badass Fox engine renders of that game in pachinko machines were the biggest slap in the face to fans of the series of all ages, period. It was like Konami, I keep wanting to say Kojima, Konami's shift in management, that whole company, they decided that they just didn't even give a shit about console games anymore. That wasn't where the money is. The money is in pachinko machines and all this other stuff. And they just ripped it right out of the ground and just started throwing shit at the wall just to see what would stick. And it's it's really funny to me.
and it's the exact same problem of like going all the way back to the emulators.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same thing of like preserving history.
Yeah, because everybody wanted a remake. That was the one game they wanted to be remade. Yeah. Besides Metal Gear Solid 1, people were in love. They love Metal Gear Solid 3. It's one of the most popular in the whole franchise was Metal Gear Solid 3. People loved that game, and it is a really good game. I'm not going to say I wasn't a fan of the game. I loved the game. I loved the whole series, but it wasn't my favorite. But over time, I've actually gained a much bigger appreciation for that game. And the thought of it being remastered in the Fox engine was incredible. Because that's what it was. It was rumors as, we're seeing this stuff and Fox engine stuff for Metal Gear Solid 3. Are they remaking it? God, this looks amazing. Boom, pachinko. This wasn't even a cultural thing. In Japan, fans of Metal Gear Solid was like, what the hell, Konami?
Yeah, they were in uproar over there even. But that's kind of what I mean. That's kind of what I'm getting at is the same people who made the decision to put some of the best rendered visuals into a pachinko machine, I guarantee you are up there with the same individuals that decided, you know what? We're going to pursue legal action against this dead game from a dead console because we may or may not re-release a shoddier version of it on next-gen consoles.
Yeah. Which, Nintendo is... they're trigger happy when it comes to that stuff anyway. Cease and desists. Like, there was a time, I can't remember exactly what time period it was. It was sometime in the 2010s, I believe, or somewhere in that area. But they just, I don't know what was going on. I'm so glad they've had a shift in management recently. You can tell that with, the Switch and their stance on not adult content, but more mature content.
Less family friendly content.
Yeah, they're cutting that because they were losing a foothold in the console market so bad. Like people, there was honest talk that Nintendo was basically just going to have to pull out of the console market altogether. They had the handheld market by the balls, but as far as like console gaming, people were like, they really got to do something or they're just going to freaking lose it. But the topic of the shift in management, like I said, in this time period, sometime in the 2010s, they just decided, you know what? Fuck it. We're just going to start slamming anyone who says the name Mario with a freaking cease and desist.
Yeah, wasn't the famous one like a kid had drawn like a picture of Mario at school or something?
If I remember correctly, it was fan art, and he just posted it to his site, and he legitimately got hit with a cease and desist.
I don't even think it was his like a website. I honestly think it was something like his Facebook or something. Like it wasn't even like a super public forum. It was just like a close-knit public forum.
I can't remember, but they were shutting down everything, absolutely everything. And what I man, we keep getting back into this. What I hate about it is you have these fan projects that are done ground up completely from scratch. And they're phenomenal, man. They're absolutely phenomenal. And before they have a chance to get off the ground, they'll get shot down by these big-ass companies who are like, hey, stop making this for free or we're literally going to sue your ass into the ground and take you for all you're worth. And then
it's awful.
And they might they might come out with their own version, some re-release Ultra HD remaster and Knuckles thing, and it'll be shit. Like, it is the most tone-deaf thing. It makes absolutely no sense. More often than not, it's just broken as hell. Sometimes it's good.
Yeah. It's like like we were talking about earlier, back with the emulators too. It's like you have a faithful recreation put together by true fans for free of the original game files that can play on modern technology. But they want to shoot that down, even though they're not losing any money off of it, just so then 2 or 3 years later they can re-release a cut up, watered down, barely functional copy of it on that generation's console for the same price you would pay for a new game. It's like, okay, I already had this game, when I was a kid, so I already bought it, number one. Number two, this doesn't run as good as the old game did. This doesn't run as good as the emulators did. This has DLC and crap that comes with it that wasn't in the original game just to make it playable. And more often than not, it would be easier for you to go to a reseller, buy an old console, buy the old game, and play it that way, because I guarantee you that re-release version with the HD graphics, which aren't actually HD graphics, I'm not going to get into that right now, but that's a freaking sham. I guarantee you that game on that modern console will have a day one patch.
Yeah.
Which is the worst thing to me. I'm not going to get into the rant right now, but if you're a AAA gaming company and you have to have a day one patch, finish your goddamn game. Finish your game. That's all I'm going to say about that.
I need to get off this topic because it's getting me worked up. But
yeah.
So
you know what? You know what used to get us worked up?
What?
But in a good way, I mean. Mag.
Oh my god, I miss Mag so much. I just have to bring that up. I love
because this
that
is
game.
the podcast of suffering today.
Real quick though, I was wanting to bring something up going on a more lighter note. Something I didn't. Ow, toe is itching. Something I didn't realize I needed in my life. Something I didn't realize was affecting me. And now that I have it, I don't think I can ever go back.
Athlete's foot.
Yeah, no. This is specifically for guys, but any woman who finds herself in this position, I mean, feel free to share in the shared experience and everything I'm about to talk about. I did not realize how much I needed cabinets above my toilet. And it's not for the reason that you think. It's not about storage or anything. I didn't fucking realize how amazing it would be to be able to, get situated, be in position, and then just rest my hand on the fucking cabinet and then just let off pressure, just lean against it without having to go forward and lean against the fucking wall. Dude, it is the greatest thing. It is the greatest thing. It's incredible. I don't know how to explain it. I don't know why, but both bathrooms in my house have a cabinet above the toilet, and it's not in any other house have I ever had it. And I had to pee, went to the toilet, and I just put my freaking hand on that cabinet and was just went to lean forward like normal. And it's you were still in the exact same position you would be in if you were just standing, only there's
a slight angle difference.
It's just a slight angle difference, and it makes all the difference in the world.
You know what I think it is?
What?
You know what I think it is? Is just leaning in general, I mean, is the fact that you're taking some of your brain power away from balance. You just lock your knees, lean up, and you're good.
Well, you're taking pressure off of your, take off your spine.
That's what I'm saying. You're taking your core muscles off, and it allows your. I have no idea. I went to a year of medical school. It just feels like everything gets to relax better.
Yeah, because you have that thing of putting your hand on the wall, and it's just sitting there and just kind of chilling, and you're just kind of getting in that zone. But I'm telling you, that slight angle difference. Ooh, It's nirvana, man. It's
Dude, if you
nice.
ever build your own house, I encourage you to look into the combination toilets.
Combination toilets.
Yes, there's actually and it's not too expensive, believe it or not. It's a version of a toilet that actually has a urinal on it.
Huh?
Like, like where the back of the toilet is.
Yeah.
It's like, it's part of that, but the back of the toilet is a urinal.
That just
So you can,
there seems like there's a sanitation problem there.
it's hard to describe. Look up like combination toilets or urinal toilets or whatever. It's like you can use them for both, but they're built more around number one than number two. They're, usually built for guys' bathrooms.
Is
more
it
than
always
anything.
open, or does it have like a double fold seat?
I see. It's like that's kind of the thing. Is it really depends on the model. Some of the ones that I've seen, it's an entirely
Combination toilet.
separate. Yeah, it's like a separate thing. Some of them, it's built in, and it's a whole stationary unit. Other times, it's like an add-on, kind of like a medical device would be. It's hard to describe. But
Combination toilet lavatory.
yeah.
I'm searching this up.
They're a little more expensive than your average toilet, but they're pretty great. It's kind of like right up there of like getting a dedicated bidet toilet.
What I'm seeing, shit, this looks like shit you'd see in prisons. It's like a sink toilet combination.
Yeah, I think with the newer designs, they've replaced it with a sink or whatever. It's an older thing. I've seen it years and years ago.
Yeah.
But they do make them.
Yeah. That's
but
weird.
also the combination sink toilets are really cool too, just for the simple fact that like you flush the toilet and you wash your hands with the same water that's refilling the back of your toilet. So it's sanitary because it's still coming out of the same pipe from any of the other water in your house, but you're doing an eco-conscious thing by washing your hands, in water that's going to be sitting anyway.
Yeah.
Saves a little bit of water, saves a little bit of the earth, as it were. But yeah, it's very, very fun finding unique bathroom appliances. This is speaking of someone who made her own bidet, so. Now, that being said, it's a Muslim bidet, so it's not like the kind... There's your European, and then there's your Arabic Muslim bidet. The European design is kind of what I would aspire to have, because it's basically a hybrid between a toilet bowl and a sink. So you use your toilet, right?
Uh-huh.
And then you move over to this secondary seat that's right next to your toilet. But instead of there being just like a flush handle, there's a little spigot. And it has hot water, cold water.
I've never heard of the term Muslim bidet.
I'll get to that. I didn't know what it was called either, but I found out. But the European bidet is basically just a secondary toilet that, instead of having a flushing mechanism,
back to Google,
just has a... I'm going to explain it to you. It has a spigot that sprays on your ass.
I know what a bidet is.
Yeah, everybody knows what the European bidet is, but the Muslim bidet is way easier and my preferred method. Sometimes you can get them hot, cold if you go with a fancy set of plumbing, but basically what it is just a shower hose that attaches to the side of your toilet that connects to the water inlet so you can clean yourself off. Let me tell you, anytime you have flu or a really bad intestinal infection or stomach problems or something like that, bidets are a godsend. I didn't think I would like them, but my God, they're wonderful. Especially if you can splurge and get one of the kind that like heats the water a little bit so it's not ice fucking cold.
Uh-huh.
But I also chose the Muslim bidet design where it's the separate hose from your toilet that you can actually clean the toilet with. You can fill up like humidifiers. You can, you know, wet a rag or something if your sink is occupied. It's clever. It's very clever, actually.
What the fuck? A Muslim's Guide to Anal Hygiene. Anal cleanliness isn't a choice. It's our faith.
Yeah, see, that's the thing, is a lot of people over here, I'm not going to get into this topic too heavily, but a lot of people over here think we're the cleanest people. No, we're really not.
Crapping at work is problematic.
Yeah, because it's part of their culture to be clean. You know.
We're thrifty as shit when it comes to shit. Man, I'm learning so much. This is
I know there's weird experiences that I have that have bettered my life, and then there's weird experiences I don't want to talk about in public. This is one of them that has bettered my life. Like, seriously, I haven't used it in a while, to be fair. But it's like one of those things like where you don't use it too often, but when you need it, you're glad you have it.